Hi, third graders. Today we are moving to learning to measure weight and to choose the most appropriate customary unit to use to measure weight. So, the last three lessons were about measuring capacity, which we will review in a second. But today's target is to be able to choose the most appropriate customary unit to use to measure the weight of an object. And the customary units we will be focusing on today are ounces, pounds, and tons. So let's review. What do we use to measure the amount of liquid in a container? What do we call that? I just said it a little bit ago. The amount of liquid a container holds is called its capacity or volume. So we learned that there are two systems that we can use, two unit systems, when we measure capacity. One is customary units, and those customary units are cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. And these are the units we typically use in the United States. The other system is the metric system, and the metric units of capacity are milliliters and liters, and those are the units that are used pretty much around the rest of the world. Now, today we're talking about a different aspect of objects that we can measure, and that is called weight. I know you've heard that word. What is weight? Look at these objects here. If I ask you, how much do these objects weigh? What am I asking you? Well, when we talk about an object's weight, what we're literally scientifically talking about is how hard gravity pulls on it. Now, think back to astronomy. Which objects have heavier gravity or more gravity? Heavier objects, right? So, the heavier an object is, the more force we have to use to overcome gravity and lift the object. Whereas lighter objects require less force to move. That's why it's harder to lift a stack of books than it is to lift a stack of paper clips because gravity is pulling harder on those books because they weigh more. We measure weight using standard units, just like we measure length and capacity using standard units. And there's two systems of measurement. Like I told you on the previous slide, customary and metric. We will be learning about both, but today we are focusing on customary units. So before we get into that, how do we measure weight? We measure weight using scales. And here are five pictures of some different scales that you have probably seen. This one isn't one you see often in the grocery store, actually A and D both. Sometimes you'll put your produce in here or something that you are buying and this will move around to tell you how much it weighs. Sometimes you put your produce on top of something and it tells you how much it weighs. These are scales you might see in a bathroom that you step on to weigh yourself or perhaps at the doctor's office. And this is kind of a more old-fashioned kind of um, scale that you would hang something from it and it would show you how much it weighs. So some scales are digital, like E. Okay, kind of like a calculator. It'll just spit the number at you. And some of the measurement you work the same way an analog clock does. And they use a scale you have to interpret, kind of like this one or this one. Measurement scales are like number lines. Some are vertical, like C. See how these number lines go up and down? But some are circular. In fact, they often are, like examples A, B, and D. We have to learn to read the measurement scales just like we read number lines. So, what are the units of customary weight? They're ounces, pounds, and tons. We measure very light objects using ounces, and I'm going to give you more examples of this in just a moment, but one screw or one nail is about an ounce. It's pretty light. Most objects we weigh using pounds, so anything from kind of medium light to pretty heavy, we would use pounds. Like a bag of flour might weigh about a pound. A pound, by the way, is the equivalent of 16 ounces. So 16 of these would be a pound. Now, a ton is used to measure very, very heavy objects because 1 ton is like the weight of a pickup truck. Pretty heavy. It's about 2,000 pounds. So very heavy objects would be weighed using tons. So if we were in the classroom, I would actually have things for you to hold and feel so that you could see what an ounce feels like and what a pound feels like, not what a ton feels like. But we unfortunately can't do that. So I'm going to have to ask you to use your imagination or maybe to find things around your house. So a key. Many of you have held a key before, hopefully most of you. That's about an ounce, not real heavy. A kitten weighs about a pound. Now, a full-grown cat is going to weigh more than a pound, but a kitten weighs about a pound. A giraffe would weigh about a ton. Now, here's another analogy here. This is something you probably have also felt. A slice of bread weighs about an ounce, but a whole loaf of bread, which is 16 slices, weighs about a pound. This is a really common comparison. Here's a couple more examples. A kind of a personal size bag of chips. I know it looks kind of big, but they're not real heavy, right? That weighs about an ounce. In fact, if you look at the small print here, look at what it says. Net weight, 1 ounce. So that's about an ounce. 5 quarters weighs 1 ounce. In fact, I actually got out 5 quarters this morning and put them on my food scale. Sure enough, exactly 5 quarters weighs exactly 1 ounce. So if you have 5 quarters around, put them in your hand, feel what that feels like. Now, what about a pound? 3 bananas is about a pound. Like a men's tennis shoe is about a pound. Not a little kid's, because those would be lighter, but a men's tennis shoe is about a pound. And then 4 sticks of butter is 1 pound. That's a pound of butter. So 16 ounces is the same as 1 pound. And you do not need to memorize that. You'll do more work with that as you get older. Okay, so let's talk about how we use these ounces. We measure very light objects using ounces. So a key, a pencil, a battery, a slice of bread, a CD or a DVD. Those are about an ounce. So we would use ounces to measure it. So things like this, we would use ounces as our unit of measure because they don't quite weigh a pound. So anything that weighs less than a pound, we're going to use ounces in order to measure it. Now, what about pounds? Most objects are going to be weighed using pounds, most everyday objects. So here we've got a bag of flour, a thing of butter, a can of vegetables, a soccer ball. We weigh most everyday objects using pounds, like you. We measure people in pounds or the weight of animals, furniture or bikes, maybe a big thing of food items, like a whole bag of apples, we would measure in pounds. So almost everything is used. We use pounds as our unit of measure. Now, what about tons? We measure very heavy objects that you could not pick up using tons. So these big guys right here all would be measured using tons. An entire building, a car, a truck, a home, an elephant, an airplane, or even a whale would be measured in tons. So very, very big. So let's do some estimating. I'm asking you what unit you would use. Would you use ounces, pounds, or tons? So a third grade student, if I was going to measure you, what would I use? I hope you said pounds. We measure people using pounds. Very good. How about a silver spoon? And that's pretty light. And since it's a pretty light object, we would use ounces. How about a train? That's a biggie, so that's definitely going to be tons. How about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Boy, that looks yummy. You know, I would say ounces because if one slice of bread is about an ounce, then 2 slices is about 2 ounces. Plus, you add the peanut butter and jelly, it's still not going to equal a pound, right? How about an airplane? Definitely tons. Unless it was a toy airplane, but I don't think that's a toy. How about a dog? Well, a dog is definitely more than a pound, but it's definitely not very, very big. And so we would use pounds. All right, so let's look at a few more objects. We'll go real quick through these. Um, if you were measuring the weight of oh, you know what? Yeah, I guess we could do this. A kitchen sink, maybe a kitchen sink that wasn't attached. You would use pounds. A box of juice, probably ounces. A case of soda, so a bunch of soda cans, pounds. A box of books, pounds. An elephant. Oh, that one doesn't want to move. Well, it's tons. I'm not sure why it isn't working. How about a penny? Ounces. Very good. Let's do a puppy. Pounds. A third grader. Pounds. That's pounds. Sorry, it's locked. I'm not sure why. An airplane. Tons. Bag of chips. Ounces. A latte or a cup of coffee. Ounces. And the Statue of Liberty. Tons. Very good, very good. So your job today is to complete a worksheet just like the ones you did for capacity. The worksheet will give you an object and you're going to choose what the most appropriate unit is to measure the weight. Would you use ounces, pounds, or tons? So for example, a new puppy, you're going to use pounds because a puppy weighs more than an ounce, but much, much less than a ton. So the most appropriate unit is pounds, and you'll have several more objects that you are going to do the same thing for. So remember, light objects, things that weigh less than a pound, you use ounces. Almost everything is pounds, but if it's very, very big, so big that people cannot pick it up, then you would use tons. All right, good luck, class. Thanks for listening.